Britain in crisis. Britain, the nation that invented the Industrial Revolution, is now on the brink of full deindustrialization. Once the workshop of the world, its factories are closing. Workers are leaving. The economy is spiraling. How did this happen? Car production has fallen 35% in just 1 month. Salmon production has dropped to 1950s levels. Factories that survived world wars are shutting forever. Britain's industrial heart is failing, and the world is watching. While China, India, and Vietnam build industrial empires, Britain, the birthplace of modern manufacturing, is quietly collapsing. Could the first industrial nation now become the first to fully deindustrialize? Tens of thousands of British workers are losing their jobs. Factories that endured wars, recessions, and decades of change are shutting for good. This is not just economics. This is about people, communities, and identity. Britain is at a crossroads. To understand how Britain arrived at this point, we must first look back to the mills, shipyards, and factories that once made this nation the envy of the world. 70 years ago, Britain was the industrial powerhouse of Europe. Manchester's textile mills churned out fabrics that clothed the world. Glasgow's shipyards forged the vessels that connected continents. Factories across Birmingham, Sheffield, and the Midlands produced everything: steel, ceramics, locomotives, luxury cars. Names like Jaguar Land Rover, Pirelli, Wedgwood, and Rolls-Royce were not just brands. They embodied British ingenuity, craftsmanship, and resilience. Factories endured bombings during the Second World War. They survived the oil crises of the 1970s. They adapted to the economic reforms of Thatcher's era. Even the smallest towns were defined by their industries. Communities thrived around mills, foundries, and plants. Children grew up dreaming of working in factories that had existed for generations. Industrial Britain was not just an economy, it was a cultural identity. Yet today these towns are eerily quiet. Production has fallen to post-war lows in many sectors. Factories that withstood decades of economic turbulence are now closing permanently. Temporary shutdowns are becoming permanent, and this decline is accelerating. For decades, these industries endured wars, recessions, and economic upheavals. Yet even the strongest foundations began to show cracks, subtle at first but impossible to ignore. The first warning signs were subtle but persistent. Car production dropped sharply. Jaguar Land Rover faced cyber attacks and ongoing supply chain disruptions, slowing output across its factories. Pirelli temporarily shut 2 factories in Staffordshire and Cumbria. What was meant to be a temporary pause now threatens to become permanent. Even iconic brands like Wedgwood, which had survived centuries of economic change, halted production for 90 days, a historic disruption. Salmon production, once a stable and reliable sector, fell to levels not seen since the 1950s, highlighting the breadth of industrial decline. Across the board, industries that once defined British manufacturing were in retreat, struggling to survive in a rapidly changing economic landscape. This decline was not caused by foreign competition alone. It was a combination of policy missteps, rising costs, and persistent energy shortages, slowly but steadily eroding Britain's industrial base. Each closure, pause, and production drop sent a ripple through communities, suppliers, and the workforce, hinting at the larger crisis to come. These early warning signs were only the beginning. As factories struggled, the nation's economy began to reveal deeper, more urgent problems. Britain's macroeconomic situation compounds the problem. Growth is stagnant. Inflation remains persistently high. Debt is climbing, reaching levels that threaten long-term stability. Chancellor Rachel Reeves faces a $20 billion budget shortfall due to downgraded productivity forecasts. Tough choices loom: tax increases, spending cuts, or both. Borrowing costs have reached a 27-year high, the highest since 1998. High borrowing costs do more than limit government spending. They make it hard for businesses to invest, expand, or even survive. Proposed policy measures include freezing income tax thresholds, reforming property taxes, and increasing levies, all adding pressure on ordinary citizens and businesses alike. The human cost is real. Tens of thousands of workers face layoffs or uncertain employment. Supply chains begin to fracture as skilled labor leaves the sector. Local economies, once dependent on manufacturing, start to stagnate. Behind the numbers lies a crucial question. Why is Britain's industrial heart failing? The answer points directly to policy missteps, soaring energy costs, and the burden of regulation, a combination slowly choking the nation's manufacturing base. Energy costs lie at the heart of Britain's deindustrialisation. Industrial energy prices in the UK are now twice as high as in France and 4 times those in the United States. Net zero policies, carbon levies, and environmental regulations have transformed energy from a utility into a luxury for manufacturers. Taxes make the problem even worse. Employers face higher national insurance contributions. Landfill charges, carbon levies, and bureaucratic planning hurdles make building new factories almost impossible. The cumulative effect is predictable. Britain has become one of the most expensive places in the world to manufacture goods. Germany's recent experience offers a warning. Cutting off access to low-cost Russian energy triggered an industrial slowdown that rippled across Europe. Britain now risks repeating the same mistakes. By prioritizing energy policies and climate goals without providing affordable alternatives, the UK puts its industrial base in jeopardy. If action is not taken, the result could be permanent deindustrialisation. While Britain faces decline, the rest of the world is racing forward. Across Asia and beyond, industrial powerhouses are emerging, capturing opportunities Britain is leaving behind. Every factory closure has a ripple effect. Tens of thousands of skilled workers lose their livelihoods. Families who depended on stable industrial jobs face economic insecurity. Communities built around manufacturing experience population decline as workers relocate for opportunities. Supply chains crumble. Suppliers who once supported local industries move abroad. Skills that took decades to cultivate disappear. Towns that once thrived on industrial identity are now struggling to survive. This is more than an economic issue. It is a societal crisis reshaping the very fabric of the country. Skills vanish. Knowledge is lost. The pride of generations is eroded. The human consequences of deindustrialisation are profound, long-lasting and rarely reversible. The contrast is stark. Nations that neglect the foundations of their prosperity do so at their own peril. Britain now stands at a critical crossroads. Meanwhile, the rest of the world continues to industrialize rapidly. China expands its manufacturing dominance, producing not only consumer goods, but advanced technology. India and Vietnam are emerging as industrial powerhouses, capturing global market share with competitive energy and labor costs. Britain's absence from the industrial race is noticeable. At the same time, the government continues to commit billions abroad. Official figures show the UK has allocated £21.8 billion for Ukraine, including £13 billion in military support, £5.3 billion in non-military aid, and £3.5 billion in export finance. The contrast is clear. While domestic industries languish, funds flow overseas. The world moves forward, and Britain risks permanent displacement from the global industrial map. The choice ahead is decisive. Invest in industry, secure affordable energy, and reclaim the manufacturing legacy, or watch as decades of progress quietly vanish. Britain's decline is not inevitable. Reversing it will require urgent, decisive action. Affordable energy, industrial-friendly policies, and a domestic-first strategy are essential to revive manufacturing. Without these measures, factories, skilled workers, and supply chains could be lost forever. This is a lesson in economic fundamentals. Reliable energy, skilled labor, and strong infrastructure are the foundation of prosperity. Countries that ignore these basics risk stagnation and decline. And there is a warning for the United States. Like Britain, the US relies on advanced industry and skilled labor. Neglecting energy costs, over-regulation, or failing to invest in manufacturing infrastructure could erode its industrial base over time. Failure to act could permanently erode the industrial base, leaving Britain dependent on imports and global supply chains. Recovery, if it comes, will be slow, difficult, and fiercely competitive. Yet the choice remains. With vision, investment, and political will, Britain could reclaim its industrial identity. Communities could rebuild, jobs could return, and pride in manufacturing could be restored. Britain stands at a crossroads. Will it invest in its industries, reclaim its manufacturing legacy, and provide affordable energy to revive production? Or will it continue down a path of decline, leaving a once great industrial nation in the annals of history? Tens of thousands of workers, entire communities, and the very identity of modern Britain are at stake. The time to act is now. What do you think Britain should do to save its industries? Can it reverse decades of decline, or is deindustrialization now inevitable? For the United States and other industrial nations, the lesson is clear. Protect the foundations of industry before decline becomes irreversible. The choices Britain makes now will echo for decades. Every factory saved is a community preserved. Every skilled worker retained is a legacy protected. Investment in apprenticeships and technical training is crucial. The next generation must inherit skills, not empty factories. Without it, knowledge vanishes, and industries cannot rebound. Energy innovation cannot wait. Affordable, reliable power is the lifeblood of manufacturing. Policy must balance climate goals with industrial survival. Global competitors are not pausing. China, India, and Vietnam continue to expand, capturing markets Britain once led. Every delay costs market share, jobs, and influence, but recovery is possible. With vision and political courage, Britain could rebuild. Factories could hum again, communities could thrive, skilled labor could return, and pride in manufacturing could be restored. The lesson is clear. Nations that neglect industrial foundations risk losing more than money. They lose identity. Britain's decision now will define its economic and cultural legacy for generations. The path is challenging, but the opportunity is immense. Will Britain rise again? Or will history mark it as the first industrial nation to fully deindustrialize? The time to act is now. If this journey helped you understand the stakes, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.